This play was one of my favorite plays from the entire season, actually. It was a really fun rushing play, and what's going to happen is that actually the beginning portion of this that I'm going to talk about isn't anything too fancy. There is going to be a double team with the right guard and right tackle, double teaming an interior lineman from Minnesota. And then also they're going to pull their left guard over to block an edge rushers. So a little bit creative, actually, because you're pulling somebody over. But San Francisco does this a lot. There's plenty of teams who will do things like this. This part isn't anything too fancy necessarily. I think what's actually really interesting is this next part. So Kittle will move up to block a defensive back right over there. And so you might be thinking, okay, a little bit odd because there is now going to be a linebacker who's in the way, but who's going to block the linebacker? And the answer is going to be Kittle. A lot of teams will not do something like this, but the reason why San Francisco is and Kittle is going to be able to actually be the guy who's going to block the linebacker is because then a receiver is going to run over to finish off the block from the defensive back, and they trust that Kittle is fast enough to get in position to be able to block a linebacker and also a good enough blocker that he will be able to block him out of the way. A lot of teams don't do something like this, but if you see right after the ball is snapped, Kittle was able to pull this off pretty perfectly. I mean, now there is a receiver in the way to block that defensive back. Not a perfect block by any means, but just create some contact. Your halfback is fast enough; he'll still be able to run through the hole. Just a really good play by Kittle. I mean, you could be saying, well, wait a second, isn't that more of a Kittle highlight than a Kyle Shanahan highlight? I mean, isn't that really just Kittle being great? And yes, it is, but that's showing, hey, Kyle Shanahan realizes who's great on his team and uses who's great on his team to the best of their abilities. Sure, a lot of teams won't do something like that, but you know what? If there's a lot of people traveling across the ocean by boat and you have a plane, you should use your plane. I mean, George Kittle is a private jet, so don't try to put him on the ocean and try to sail across that way. Let him fly, and that's what Shanahan does. He has a talented players, and he uses them to the best of their abilities. I also think that his situational football IQ is pretty great, and I know you're going to be saying, "What on earth are you talking about? You must have missed Super Bowl 51." And yeah, that one specifically one play in Super Bowl 51 where he decided to run it when they were in field goal range was atrocious, and he deserves blame for it. He absolutely does, but let's not let one play completely define the man. Like, I thought this drive was actually a really good example of that, where first things first, what happened before this play was that there was a holding penalty, so now it's going to be first down and 20. And so, okay, first down and 20. It's always very interesting to see how offensive coordinators, how head coaches, and how just the play callers decide what they're going to do. So, like, Arizona's going to play very conservative here. They're going to have a cover four zone, is what they're going to do. And then for San Francisco, that's actually okay for them because they have a perfect concept designed to beat zone coverage, which makes you think Kyle Shanahan sort of had an idea of what was coming. It's a good football IQ play by Shanahan to basically just outsmart the Arizona Cardinals a little bit here. It's those three routes you see on the screen, and Juszczyk's route right over there. It will get kind of into a gap in coverage, and also just since there's only three Cardinals in the middle of the field, they're attacking the middle of the field just to try to gain some yards. Like as you see right when the ball is snapped, Juszczyk is just completely wide open right here. This is an easy throw for Garoppolo. Garoppolo makes the throw, Juszczyk sort of falls forward a little bit, and they gain 8 yards just like that. Again, nothing spectacular by any means, but for the 49ers, they're not trying to make these spectacular plays here. It was first down and 20s, so you have to just try to find a way to get the first down. Your whole mindset is just get the first down here. Don't worry about any chunk plays or anything like that. So on the next play, Arizona is going to say, okay, let's play a little bit more aggressive here. We're going to have a cover 3 zone, so the short pass will still be open, but we're going to try to blitz here, make sure that Garoppolo has to throw it short because they're going to have it's a cover 3 zone, but it's a cover 3 zone blitz. So that's what they're doing here. However, for Kyle Shanahan, it's almost like he knows what play is coming. He has his two receivers on the top half of the screen running those two routes, which is just perfect against this coverage because the Cardinal who's in charge of covering the top of the screen is going to have to stay deep with the first player, meaning that the 49er who's going to be cutting a little bit in the middle, he's going to have a gap where he's just definitely going to be open. Like watch, after the ball is snapped, once again, wide open. This is too easy for Garoppolo. He's easily going to be able to gain some yards. And even though there was actually a pretty good tackle, that still gains you 5 yards. Now it's a third down and 7, which is very important. If it were to be an incomplete pass on a second down and 12, that could create a third down and 12, which is very hard to come back from. But a third down and 7, it's a lot easier. It really opens up the playbook in a lot of ways. And so let's see what they do with that opened up playbook. For Arizona, they're going to be running a cover 1 blitz right now. So, again, playing a little bit aggressive here. Going to make sure that the San Francisco 49ers have to throw this ball quickly. And for Garoppolo, Shanahan has two routes that he could look to. The first of which is going to be Debo Samuel running a quick route over the middle, and the second of which is going to be a route just further deep. The second route could actually be open better against zone coverage than man, but could still get open against man. And for Garoppolo, basically the mindset is simple. He can throw the ball deep to try to hit his receiver who's deep, which will be past the first down marker, but it has less odds of it being a completion. Whereas Samuel's route will almost definitely be a completion. It's a great route against the type of coverage. The dilemma is, will he be able to gain the 7 yards? So he's basically going to have to wait and see. But, Shanahan trusts Garoppolo to wait until after the snap to see if he likes what he sees. And so after the ball is snapped, Samuel is open, and so Jimmy G is going to say, hey, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to make a throw in that direction. Garoppolo makes the throw, and Samuel is able to make the catch, even breaks a tackle and gets way past the first down marker, gets all the way to the 40. But even if he didn't break that tackle, it still would have been a first down. I like that play for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, listen, at the end of the day, you can't create a play that's going to guarantee a first down. What you have to do is give yourself the best odds, and basically you have to give your players the best chance of getting a first down. So on a play like that, there absolutely was some trust that Shanahan had in Garoppolo, but at the same time, he made things very easy for Garoppolo. Garoppolo knew, okay, if it's man coverage, look for Debo Samuel. He could get open and could get a first down. If it's zone, then look further deep. That's what I should be doing. So on one hand, he is letting Jimmy Garoppolo make some decisions, but on the other hand, he's not making Jimmy Garoppolo to make these very difficult decisions. He's making things easier for Garoppolo, but also opening up the possibility that his quarterback could make a mistake, because more often than not, his quarterback isn't going to make a mistake, so he doesn't have to worry about that too much. I feel like it's often you'll see a play caller who sometimes will just let their quarterback kind of do it all, try to get their quarterback to do everything, and that can't work out too well. And then sometimes you see the flip side where they don't trust their quarterback to make any post-snap reads whatsoever. But, for Shanahan, he says, hey, you know what? I can trust you with this simple stuff. That way, my job is to make things simple for you, make things easy for you. That's what Shanahan does for Garoppolo. And there's no better example of that than through the play action. Like on this play, it's going to be a cover 4 zone that Minnesota is in. And so for the 49ers, they're going to run play action to the top half of the screen, and it'll be Samuel's route right over there that could get open. And it just seems like every time they run play action, it's perfectly timed, and the opposing defense is always fooled. It just seems like that happens so frequently. Like as you see right when the ball is snapped, just look at how open Debo Samuel is right now. There's just so much space right here. Garoppolo is easily going to be able to make this throw. In fairness, if I'm that Minnesota Vikings defensive player who is in the area, I think I'd turn my back and try to just closing up the gap, even though you never want to turn your back in zone coverage. I think every now and then you can. This would have been one of the examples when I would have, but either way, I mean, you're putting the defensive players in tough positions with Kyle Shanahan's offense in the way he just always has them on their toes. It's one of the key reasons he is one of the best in the business right now. I think this should be a very interesting Super Bowl. Listen, I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that the San Francisco 49ers, if they win the Super Bowl, they will have won 4 times as many games as they won last year. They only won 4 last year. They're currently 15-3. And honestly, they're 3 plays away from being 18-0. All of their losses were that close. This has been a dominant team, and a huge part of that is because of Kyle Shanahan. Everyone's going to make fun of him for 28-3. That's just something he's always going to have to live with. But at the end of the day, he can definitely get a step towards redeeming himself with a victory right here. I also think one just very interesting thing about what he currently has done is just simply the fact that, the 49ers, they haven't really been tested yet this postseason. They won both of their games pretty handedly. So it'll be interesting to kind of see if he has saved any plays, saved any creative play calls that he was going to use in a big game, but this haven't really had to too much. I mean, they did have to beat Seattle in week 17. That's honestly the biggest game they've played so far this season in terms of, a close game that was in a big spot. So that's definitely a big thing. But it certainly also is possible that they have saved some plays. In fact, I almost guarantee that they've saved some plays for a big spot that they haven't had to go into yet. And who knows, this Super Bowl could be the perfect time. I mean, unless they're in such a blowout in the Super Bowl that they don't want to use their big plays. But let's be honest, if you have a creative play and a play that you really like and don't want to put on tape for someone else to steal it, a Super Bowl, even if you're up 17, that would be a good time to run that play. So I think that's just another little nugget to add on is, for all we know, this might not be the best Kyle Shanahan we've seen so far this season. That is a very real possibility. we could see him potentially having saved things up for a big game like the Super Bowl. And of course, it doesn't have to be like a Philly special, but it could be just something a little bit creative, something a little bit unorthodox that he hasn't put on tape so far this season. That is a very real possibility. But anyways, I mean, that's just what I think of Kyle Shanahan. He's just such a fantastic play caller, so much fun to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.